The cream always rises to the top.
Cup of coffee.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the I Tap That Cigar Show presented by Corona Cigars. Always, I'm your host, Kevin from Cigar Prop, and I'm coming to you live from the Drew Estate Experience Asset Studios here on the sunny Gulf Coast of Florida. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Kerr Viajante of Stogie Road Cigars. Kerr.
Evening, Kev.
Howdy do.
How you doing, man?
I'm pumped. Now I was all tired before the show, but now I'm all pumped up again. And
You know why is that Macho Man voice? You do Macho Man voice, you cannot not be.
You
pumped
do.
up.
That's it. If you do the Macho Man voice pre-show, you cannot start off the show.
Yeah.
On a down note.
Impossible. Not when you're trying to muster up that much energy to match the Macho Man's.
I know. Just taken so soon, I would have gotten him in the new lounge. I know I would have. I needed a Macho Man promo for Cigar Prop, for me, for just Kevin in general. I needed a Macho Man.
For Freever, I know Freever does some voiceovers.
How much extra for the outfit? I'll send you the one I got.
Welcome to Cigar Prop.
It might be snug on you, the one I got, but it is plastic. So
try to say,
yeah, just have Jen hit it with the hairdryer. Joining us in the background, as always, is producer Jessica, handling all the happenings and snappings when I go on too long. So, Jessica, say hello to everybody tonight.
Hello.
All right, we got a little bit of house.
John, tell your wife hello.
Oh, yes. Say hello for sure. All right, we got a little housekeeping we got to do before we get into where's my thing. All right, Cinco de Mayo is a time for celebration and drinking tequila. Corona Cigars bringing the party right to your front door. They wanted to put together the perfect package to enjoy on Cinco de Mayo. This tasting package includes a bottle of their exclusive Patron, Añejo single barrel tequila, and 5 cigars: 1 Army of Angels, 1 CAO Zacala Robusto, 1 Tatuaje Tuxla Loma de Cerdo LE, 1 Romeo San Andreas Pyramide, and 1 LFD La Volcado. You're getting all of this for only $100, $105.50. Plus free, I should be say and free shipping, not plus free shipping because there's no plus, but free shipping. Order yours today and make Cinco de Mayo, your Cinco de Mayo party, a one to remember. I'm not a good voiceover guy.
That was rough.
That was a tough one, man.
There's a lot of words.
A lot of Spanish words.
I know. And then fucking Tatuaje, the Tuxla Loma de Cerdo LE. Get your shit together, Pete. Yeah. God. So, all right, let's get right to the CigarMedics humidimeter cut and light. Remember, with the CigarMedics humidimeter, you'll always know when to hold them and know when to smoke them. What's everybody smoking tonight?
What are you smoking?
Oh, I'm not smoking this, Kev.
Yes.
I'm smoking the Lancero. Sweetgrass Gringo Lancero.
All right. What's your humidity level on that?
The humidity level when I lit it up was at 68.
All right. Mine is at 62%. I am smoking from our sponsor, Jake Wyatt Cigars, the Jake Wyatt USIR. I didn't get a chance to get any of our guest cigars tonight because Scallywag. I don't know we're gonna have to ask him what's going on with Scallywag. I don't know what's happening with the website. It's been down. I don't know if they're going out of business. But yeah, the Jake Wyatt cigar. What is
well, and that hence why you had to choose a sponsor. I did too, but I chose one from JC Newman, my go-to PDM Corojo.
That's
cigar.
Perla Del Mar for the uninitiated.
Oh, sorry.
PDM.
I don't like it. You know what? It's Perla Del Mar, Jess. Don't go PDM. I like the old band.
Yeah.
I love calling it a PDM.
I hate it.
I don't know why. I like it. It's sketchy.
It reminds me of PDR, but I love I like the old band. I love the old band.
Well,
we have another guest joining us tonight. I see
someone random hopped on.
Yeah, no. It's Kendrick. I have lots of Brandon questions. I don't have any Kendrick questions. Kerr, start thinking of your Kendrick questions. So all right. Where were we? All right, a couple more housekeeping things before we kick it off. Boston Jimmy, autism, climbing Mount Fuji. Donate. It's in the video description, the podcast description. If you're listening to this in the future, Matthew Tobacco. I think we're coming down to the last week for their raffle for the Cigar Charitable Foundation. That link is in the description as well. And I think that's all we have for housekeeping. So before we bring on our guest, we want to take a moment to thank our show partners. I should make that a little.
You should. You got to make that in a clip.
But we do. I gotta write that down. So let me get down here.
Well, I'm already earning my salary.
Housekeeping. All right. All right. So thank you to JC Newman Cigars, CigarMedics, Amendola Cigars. We Are the Muscle. Jake Wyatt Cigars, Illusione Cigars, deep in flavor, deep in your mind. K by Karen Berger Cigars, Corona Cigar, and of course, Drew Estate and Experience Asset. All right, so waiting patiently in the Experience Asset Green Room is Tommy Farrell and Kendrick from Apostate Cigars. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Tommy Farrell. Yeah.
I have to apologize to you because I got back from the PCA, and I can't remember if we were talking about it on the show or we have another podcast, the Broadleaf Bullies podcast, and I'm like, oh yeah, Ed, like 3 times, like, hey, is that Tommy Farrell? Is that Tommy Farrell? I go, I don't think that's Tommy Farrell. But after like the 3rd time, Ed was so sure. I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. And I'll go up, I'm like, hey, I'm Tommy Farrell from Nickel City Cigars, and you just said no. And then nope. I walked away, and then afterwards Jessica goes, well, I thought she goes, well, who was it? And I go, oh, I don't know, I didn't ask. Yeah. And I'm like, she goes, well, did you introduce yourself? I go, no, I just walked away like a dick.
I mean, if it helps, I knew who you were.
Oh my God.
And so it was funny though, because I wasn't at the booth. I wasn't at the Apostate booth when you approached me. I feel like that context would have helped you out a lot.
I feel like it would have.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I was like, nope.
Oh my God. Like I said, it was, I didn't think anything of it until Jessica's like, you didn't even ask him who he was. And like hindsight.
You didn't look embarrassed, but maybe you were. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
that was funny. That was funny.
Oh, I'm clueless most of the time. I just walk around in my own little world, and I think that's why some people like me, some people hate me. It's like, oh, just bless his heart, as they would say
after
here
that,
in this town.
After that, I Googled Tommy Farrell over at Nicholas City. I've seen him on social media and stuff. And I was like, okay, we have a similar vibe, but he's way better at it than I am. So like, that was all compliments for me. And I hope Tommy never sees this. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, Tommy. It was, 'cause I didn't realize it until I'm trying to do the show thumbnail. And I'm on your Facebook page and I'm scrolling through your photos because I don't want to use the same photo everybody else uses. And then I come across this one photo and I go, oh my God. And then I realize what I did. So that's when I messaged you. I'm like, were you at PCA last year?
Yeah.
Kevin, I actually think we talked about this potential moment when you told us about you just randomly walking up and then giving the old, are you Tommy Farrell? No. Okay. And just walked away. It's like we talked about that. Well, what's going to happen if one day you interview him? What if one day he's on the show?
Anyways, that's my partner Kendrick over there. Yeah, we should say hi to as well.
Yeah, well, he disappeared.
Oh no, we lost him.
I was just about to say something, and then he's gone.
Oh no. So, well, we are working on internet around Beehive Cigars, so I'm not sure what happened.
So are you both at the same place, just in a different room?
Well, he's not in the same room as I am, so I don't know where he's at.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Or you know right where he was at. So
Kevin, you are.
I'm on
sharp tonight.
I am on a roll tonight. So
we're going to talk about the magic. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully he comes back on and we can continue introducing him. So all right, let's. Where are you? Okay, Beehive. Where is that? Where you're coming from?
Yeah, I'm in my secret office in Beehive Cigars. Yeah.
And where is that at?
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yes, sir. Good old Salt Lake.
I vaguely know where Utah's. Everybody, it's not. It's just I don't know where things are at on this planet. So I'm not. What are the states on either side and top and bottom of you?
We are surrounded by Idaho, Nevada, Colorado, Wyoming, Arizona, and New Mexico.
Okay, all right. Vaguely know. It's west of the Mississippi.
So, great. That doesn't help me.
Yeah. It's like I know where Arizona is because of Brad Reith over at Steel Cigars. I know where Arizona's at. So
that's fucking great.
Kerr, you were at that lounge. Tell us about how you when was this?
Pre-COVID. So I was going out there for a conference, and when I landed, as I always do, got to make sure I get my stops in and visit cigar shops, and that was the first shop I stopped at. It was great shop.
Thank you. Yeah. I vaguely, you said you'd been out here, and then you were talking about we discussed a particular cigar, and that recalled. I believe I remember that conversation. It was pre-COVID, and I did get the vaccine, so my memory's not what it used to be, but I do remember you.
No. Well, thank you. But it was I really from what I remember, it was a few years ago, and I did get COVID and I did get the brain fog. But great location, great shop. I did visit a couple other shops when I was downtown in Salt Lake. I think another shop.
Yeah, you got Genie's downtown, and then you got Tinderbox at the south end of the valley. Yeah, there's a couple of good shops in town, man. Yeah.
But I was trying to get back out to your shop because I really liked yours the best. It had a good vibe. I always used to evaluate the shops on the Stogie Road 3 selection, staff, and location, and you were great. Yeah, I remember just having a good conversation, and the selection there was great. And location was fantastic. So I didn't get a chance to get back out there because of time, didn't allow me to get back out to your shop.
Stupid.
No, I get it, man. Responsibilities, right? No, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So is that where you grew up? I kind of know your story of growing up. We'll say Mormon, but did you grow up in Utah? Did you move to Utah? Mm-hmm. So
grew up in Utah. Mm-hmm.
Long lineage of Utah in your family?
I would be fourth generation Utah. Yeah, my grandpa's dad sort of helped settle the area, central Utah. So yeah, fourth generation Utah, about as far back as you can go. Yep.
What do you guys call yourselves from you? We're Floridians and Kerr's of South Carolina. Oh, Utahns?
Utahns. You just put an AHN at the end.
Utahns. That's
Uh-huh.
I would not have guessed that.
No.
That's yeah.
It's not fun to say. It's not fun to read. It's not cool.
No, it's boring. It's like a yawn. It's like yawn. It is. That's just very. I guess that Well, I mean, what do you expect from the Mormons? Yeah, that's it. So let's talk about that. You growing up a Mormon in the Mormon church. Hopefully your partner will come back and join us. Maybe we can talk about his experience.
Absolutely.
But what's it like? I don't know any Mormon kids except like said, except the ones that are like teenagers that come on their bicycles around.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, and it's one that's interesting to answer, because it's like you don't really know what's different about being a Mormon kid until you're not a Mormon kid anymore. You know what I mean? So for me, I couldn't have told you at the time what was different. It was normal, dude. It wasn't weird to me. It didn't get weird until after,
Yeah.
But the things that I can point out for you that highlight kind of the way it goes is it permeates your entire culture, man. It's the people you go to school with, your employers, you know what I mean, your neighbors, everyone. It's not just who you see in church on Sunday. Like your whole community, you're all Mormon, man. So you're all kind of, checking on each other, right? Oh my God, I saw him looking at a magazine. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he was at the coffee shop. There's a little bit of like guilting your neighbors into staying on the straight and narrow. It didn't seem weird at the time, and it seems weird now. So
yeah.
I started having doubts, or really just overall lack of interest, I would say, in my mid-teens, where I was just kind of like, man, I think there's got to be more to life than this. You know what I mean? So when you mentioned you saw the teenagers on the bicycles. When I was 19, I got to be one of those kids, and I went to the Dominican Republic and tried to teach people about the church. So that was my first trip to the Dominican Republic, and I didn't know.
I was wondering, because I had read that somewhere that you spent time in the DR. That was actually my next question, and I didn't know like what brought you down there. Was it the cigar? So it was actually you went there for the church.
I went there for the church, man. I was there for when you're on a mission. That's what they call it. It's usually a 2-year time period. And I made it, I think, 14 months, something like that, before I was like, I'm good, But I wouldn't trade it for anything. The cool part about it was I got to live in a town called La Vega. I got to live in Santiago. I lived in the same neighborhood as Ochi Blanco, and I didn't even know it at the time. You know what I mean? I got to see tobacco fields and not really understand what any of that was about. I got to learn the language. You know what I mean? It was all beneficial. I didn't know how beneficial it would be, but here we are 20 years later, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. Yeah, dude, it was cool.
You went for the church and stayed for the cigars.
Yeah,
I went for the church and I went back for the cigars. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. There we go. That is a T-shirt right there, Kerr.
Yeah. For real.
I'm full of it tonight, Kevin. I'm full of it. Hey, Brett, I got to ask you: have you seen the show Under the Banner of Heaven?
Absolutely.
What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a highly dramatized version of some things that are pretty accurate. Yeah. Okay. You know what I mean?
Hollywood, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they got to make it Hollywood. They got to make it good for TV. But the way that they kind of capture a snapshot of that Mormon community vibe that you get in the show, with the main guy and his family and the neighbors, and they all call each other brother and sister, and they're all, that whole thing. I mean. Yeah, that was a very accurate snapshot of what life was like in the 80s in Utah for me.
I was curious if it was accurate. I mean, I know that there's going to be obviously Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. But there is some essence of that I wondered did touch on the reality of things and how things are.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely touched on it, but I don't think you're ever going to get a truly accurate picture from something made for Hollywood.
Right, yeah.
But they had there was a vibe there that felt right. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Utah in the 80s, worst documentary ever.
Worst documentary ever.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, worst behind
Everything
the scenes.
Was brown. Yeah, dude.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Utah, but yeah, you talk about your the lounge. Kerr visited. There was a couple of lounges. I always thought like Utah was like not, they didn't have a lot of like cigar. I know Colorado doesn't have a ton. I thought that like Utah was like very picky about their cigar lounges.
They are. It's a tough landscape. Technically, there are no lounges in Utah. So when Kerr was out here,
okay.
we were still kind of being a little bit Wild West rock and roll about it. We had a lounge directly connected to the retail front. You could walk from the store straight back into the lounge. We were charging memberships, and we were charging a cover charge for a day pass to try to satisfy the state. That turned out to not be enough red tape for them, and they threatened to pull our license and shut us down if we didn't make the lounge go bye-bye. So we had to make the lounge go bye-bye, unfortunately. Now we smoke outside, or, me and my super secret office that I'm putting on the internet.
Okay, so you say when the lounge had to go bye-bye, where people sit and smoke had to.
Yep.
You just had to move it outside, though. You could move it.
I mean, we do everything we can to make it as comfortable as possible for people, but there's no indoor smoking allowed in the state of Utah. So it is what it is. Public, private, otherwise it's a tough gig out here, man.
Man, that is crazy. How are the taxes out there? Like say compared to like California, what everybody knows. How are your tobacco taxes?
86%.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be. I can't imagine them being low with that type of restrictions with lounges. That's crazy.
86%.
And I don't know. I guess cigar smokers will always. I mean, they'll always buy cigars. I just can't fathom that. Like how lounges make money. How do they stay in business?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like when you're in a situation, you almost don't. It's all relative, right? Like people in California think they have it the toughest. People in New York think they have it the toughest. People in Utah think they have it the toughest. It just kind of is. It's whatever you're willing to adapt to in order to enjoy the thing you like. We're lucky to have a really adaptable and robust cigar community that chooses to support us, man. We're super grateful for that.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, we got it easy here in Florida. We don't have taxes.
Oh God,
we don't have.
I love Florida, man.
We don't have state income tax. We don't have tobacco tax. We don't have all of that.
No, it's awesome.
So we'll get back. So did you were 19? Did you go to college and then go, or did you forego college? You did missions?
I totally skipped college, man. I didn't do it. I did like a semester of online college, not even a full semester. It was one of those like gap year, like what am I going to do with my life? Part of the Mormon culture is it's, your parents while you're growing up, they have the expectation that you're going to go on a mission, and then you come home and you go to college and you meet a girl at college and you get married and you have kids and you start the whole thing over again, right? You repeat the cycle. So for me, it was like, I don't know about that, So in order for me to kind of either shit or get off the pot, I decided to do the mission more for me, to figure out kind of where I stood as far as like my personal beliefs and like, is this what I'm in or am I not? You know what I mean? Obviously I wanted my mom to not be like, oh, my son's not going, or my dad, you know what I mean? Like they would have been cool either way, but me being like, oh man, I'm breaking my mom's heart. I wanted to go. I wanted to figure out who I was, where I stood. And yeah, it took me about a year of like trying to sell it to other people to be like this. Not only do I not want to sell it, I'm not really buying it either. You know what I mean? So
okay. So when you say you only lasted, like 14 months and you came back, you left everything. You decided to walk. What was that conversation? You come home with your parents and.
So it took a couple years, man. It was a progression after that. I came home, immediately, joined the workforce, wanted to just like figure out what I wanted to do with life. So I worked a few, different jobs. I did meet a girl. We did get married very young. We did have kids young. And then, we started to, grow apart and want different things in life. So we split up. And then it was right around 24, 25 where I was like, the only thing holding me back right now is my attachment to this religion that I can't make my mind up about, So I made my mind up, and you have to write letters and have meetings, and they have to interview you and be like, why are you leaving? And it's a whole prolonged process when you want to leave the church. When they want to kick you out, you're out, bro. But like, so I should have fucked around a little harder, you know?
That's it. So you had
Wrong
to do
approach.
it. Care, they made him do an exit interview. You know,
yeah,
I mean,
100%, man.
that's
100%.
it. You know,
Yeah,
you just give them. It's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah,
You know,
it was kind of like that. Yeah, it was kind of like that. So, no, man. Yeah, it took me from the time I got home from the mission, I was about 21, till the time I was 25 was my full transition into like, I'm out. That's it. I'm good. Yeah.
What happens if you don't do that?
Yeah, I know.
So you end up on like a list of what they call inactive members, right? Which means your name's still on the list. They still want to see you at church, and they'll send people to knock on your door, see how you're doing. It's very communal. It's very like uplifting and wholesome, right? They still want to see you around. When you take your name off the list, they just leave you alone, you know?
So what's it like having annoying people knock on your door?
I say that sounds a little odd, right? So
Yeah, that sounds.
I don't want to do
Yeah.
the exit interview, but it's just like, hey, just checking in to see if you're okay. Yeah, I'm good. I don't wanna come.
No, it's really not as crazy as it sounds, but it's just one of those I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I wanted to be clear and free, you know.
Right.
So
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So where does the were you smoking cigars in the DR, or is that? I mean, obviously, I know it's a big no-no in your. So when you left and came home, where do cigars fit in that journey when you come home?
So cigars was entirely unexpected for me. When I went to the DR as a missionary, I saw the fields. I knew the cigars were a part of the culture. It really didn't register to me how big that world was. You know what I mean, or how much was going on there. I didn't really get into cigars until my wife, around my second wife. I got remarried a few years later. Around 28, 29, I don't remember, my birthday, she bought me a pack of cigars and a humidor and the accessories, just trying to get me like a cool gift because I'm hard to shop for, right? And to her credit, she was being awesome, and she thought it would be something, and I was like, cool, cigars, thanks, and I would move on. Little did she know that you know, she planted a pretty potent seed that day, and it took me, I don't know, from age 28. I joined Beehive Cigars when I think I was like 34. So about 6 years for me to get into the industry after I smoked my first cigar. It's all my wife's fault.
What was in that? Was it like was it one of them Thompson cigars? Like you get a humidor and like a bunch of
100%.
cigars for
Absolutely.
It's like the Columbia House CD Club. You get
exactly what it was
you get a
like.
humidor, 25 cigars.
There were 20 cigars. It was like 4 or 5 packs, and it was a 5-pack of Padilla 1932, a pack of Romeo y Julieta 1875. What else was there? I don't remember anything else. I just remember those two. And the Romeo and Julieta was a Churchill, and that was the first one I smoked. And I was standing in my front yard just powering through this Churchill, and spent the rest of the night throwing up in the shower. I was like, I don't know about cigars. And then obviously I had to finish the rest of them, and I figured out there was a learning curve. Started reading, started watching podcasts, kind of educating myself, and got better at it. So
yeah, because you probably didn't have. I mean, growing up in the church, you probably didn't have people that you could turn to. Like, hey, teach me how to,
No, not at all. Not at all.
Do this cool thing.
Yeah, my great grandfather smoked a pipe, and I think that's about the only documented instance I have of tobacco use in my family tree. So yeah, it's not like I had a cigar mentor. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get into? So you spent a couple of years. What were you doing for like work, like kind of your job jobs before you got into Beehive, and then how'd you get into there?
It was a bit of the corporate grind, man. I worked for UPS for a number of years. That's where I met my current wife. So thank God I spent time there. But after that, I was working for Netflix, actually, a corporate gig at Netflix. And it just got to be one of those things where you spend, 80 hours a week working all the time, whether you're at home or you're not, and you start to feel like there's got to be more, right? And so I ended up leaving Netflix and taking about a 3-month break from work altogether, and spent a little time in Hawaii, spent a little time of like soul searching, and the whole time I was not working, I was smoking cigars. So I was like, how do I get into that? Like, how do I make the thing that I'm doing every day something that can put food on the table, keep me interested, help me learn, help me grow? And so that's when I reached out to Kendrick, who is the owner of Beehive Cigars, asked if he needed help. And he didn't need help at the time, but thank God he hit me up a few weeks later when he had an opening and he hired me. And, you know, it's all downhill from there. I went about 5 years, 6 years as his GM before we decided to get creative and take the next step. So, yeah, man, it was just really that corporate grind, that soul sucking, you know, can't do it anymore.
Kerr's just nodding. Kerr's like, yes, you know, Kerr, just don't leave your job, Kerr. Just don't
leave your job, dude. I got lucky, man.
Yeah. We got to take a sabbatical, Kerr. Maybe me and you hit Hawaii for a little bit. Just tell the women, I got to do some.
I'll take a sabbatical when I retire. I mean,
there you go.
That's it. But
I don't got time for a sabbatical, Kev.
Yeah, I didn't know Kendrick actually owned Beehive. I didn't.
So Kendrick is the owner of Beehive. Yeah, he's the one who hired me as his GM. And then we had always talked about blending cigars as just kind of a like pipe dream. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it'd be so cool to go blend a cigar. And then we're like, well, why can't we do that for like a house blend for Beehive? You know what I mean? And so the conversation progressively got more serious before COVID hit in 2020. And we're like, we got a little time on our hands. Maybe we should stop talking about it and go do it. And that's when we decided to call up Hochi Blanco, schedule a meeting, go fly down there, and got things started, man. It was pretty cool.
Now, how did you just call it up? How did you, I mean, was it your connections through Beehive? Obviously, when you're working in a lounge, you make a lot of connections. So is that how you got hooked up with Hochi?
It is, yeah. So what, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there at the trade show, we brought in Hochi. He had just launched La Galera. And so we brought in the whole lineup for Beehive, and he was so stoked because we were bringing in everything. And, you know, I don't know if he was used to people just saying yes and taking the whole kit and caboodle, you know? So we were like, yes, this is awesome. We want to bring it all in. And so we were fast friends from then on. I had a really good relationship with him. I went to Pro Cigar, you know, the spring after that, and he sponsored a good portion of my trip and was a great host while we were down there. So we built a relationship with Hochi pretty solid, pretty quickly. Actually his rep out here in the West. Do you know the name Jeremy Wolfson?
Yeah, Jeremy Wolfson. Yeah, I've heard the name on Facebook. Yeah. Yeah,
so Jeremy was repping La Galera at the time, and he's fast friends with Hochi too. He's like family. He's like family to us, so it was he was kind of our liaison. He kind of, you know, helped us get in the room, helped us cover the bases with Hochi, like talking about, hey, they want to have a meeting about making some cigars with you. What do you think? And Hochi gave us the green light. All three of us flew down there, and we ended up blending our first 3 cigars the day after we had the meeting about what we wanted to do. So it was
now were these,
he was ready to go.
So did you go down there and then you're blending these cigars to be house brands, or did you know at that point you knew you were starting a cigar company?
Yeah, at that point and slightly before that point, when the conversations started gaining traction and solidifying, and we got sort of this vibe from Hochi that, you know, things were basically whatever we wanted it to be, then we formed the company. We formed the company before we flew down there the first time, and kind of had an idea in our heads of what blends we wanted, what we wanted the marketing to look like, the branding to look like. That way, by the time we got to Hochi's office, we had a plan for the guy, you know what I mean? So sitting across from him and then getting the final green light, he sent us on our way and said, you know, my house is your house. Let's go make some cigars. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, because I imagine having a plan is probably definitely, you know, good. I mean, in his eyes, because I can't even imagine like people like me that just like, I would like a cigar, sir. You know, what would you like? I would like it brown and long.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. Like I said, Kerr's got one of my cigars there that that I do with Sinistro. I don't blend. I don't know anything about that. I'm like, make me something really, really good. So
right, you might have an idea of what you want, but it's the connecting the dots part, right?
Yeah. What did you guys want? Like, say, when you went down there, you and Kendrick talking, like, hey, we have an idea for some cigars. What did you want?
So what we wanted was exceptional quality over everything, right? So Hochi, his fermentation process lends itself to tobacco that's just fucking phenomenal. He ages everything for like 5 years, you know what I mean? Instead of upping the temperature and fermenting faster, he's going a little lower temperature, a little bit longer, and I feel like it really lets the tobacco be what it's supposed to be. And we knew that from smoking La Galera and taking the factory tour during Pro Cigar. And so like this is info that we had, and that's why we wanted to work with him. So when we got down there, when we're talking about like, what are we going to make as a brand? What are we actually going to bring to the table for people to enjoy? We had in our mind a core lineup of 8 cigars. If you look at the word apostate, there's 8 letters in apostate. If you look at the main band on our cigar, there's 8 symbols that spell out apostate. If you look at our logo there that you've got, perfect. Oh, that's a way old one. Pull up the new one. That one's old.
I don't.
the new one looks better. Yeah.
When I Googled you, that's what came up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was on like a Half Wheel article one time, and that's the only one that people find.
I think that's where I got this from.
Yeah, probably. That's okay. So we've updated our logo a little bit, but each symbol represents one of the cigars in the core line, and so we knew we wanted 8 to make the branding work. We're only doing one size per blend. Each blend is going to be unique. So we've got Maduro, Connecticut, Corojo, Candela. We're doing something different flavor profile wise for every cigar. Coming from the retail side, we wanted to sort of solve a few retailer problems, right? And so if you're coming to me with your cigar and I'm a Beehive and you want me to buy your stuff and you've got 5 sizes per blend and you've got 20 blends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the buy-in? Like, dude, I've got a couple of feet of shelf space for you. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to be in or like, do you want me to carry 40 cigars? So for us, it's like, okay, keep the small footprint, keep one size per blend. Let's be creative with the packaging. So we don't have a bunch of backstock up on shelves falling off. You know what I mean? So everything's streamlined, everything, 12 count bundles instead of boxes. We've got a really nice display tray that shows off the cigars and highlights each blend right on a shelf talker built into the box. So we had all of this ready to go in our heads before we sat down with Hochi. So from there, it was just cool. Now let's make the product.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right on. So all of yours come in bundles, no boxes.
Mm-hmm. 12 count bundles. Yep.
I love that. Well, we've talked about that twice on the show now. I think just last week we were talking about just boxes and and I was talking with Mickey Pegg, All Saints Cigars.
Oh
a month ago. And I'd mentioned to him like, oh man, can't you just wait till boxes go away? And he's like, no, boxes are great. And then I'm like,
it's a divisive subject, dude, because you want to keep the tradition of that beautiful box, right? And I get it. Like it's art. It's truly art. But it's also for us as retailers, it becomes a little wasteful. You know what I mean? Unless guys are buying cigars by the box all the time, which most dudes are not, then you as a retailer, you're like, okay, cool, let's give away all these boxes or like sell them for $5 or throw them in the trash. Like it becomes secondary to what people are in your shop for, which is the tobacco, right? So we wanted to kind of skip that step, you know what I mean? We're trying to give you something that still looks good. It's in beautiful black butcher paper. It's got a nice sticker that describes the blend inside. It's got the logo on the front. So they're still really nice. But we didn't want to go through the process of like getting something that a retailer is going to open up, take some cigars out, and then either sell, give away, or toss in the trash. It's just, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, and as collectors of cigar bands, cigar stickers, Jessica and I, we love the butcher paper. We love being able to cut out, the logo. We can make that a magnet. We can make it our own sticker, and we hang on to it versus just throwing out the button. We can put them on the walls, put them on anything else.
Exactly. Exactly.
we
Which you can
throw.
now do with a bundle of Apostate. It's got a great, nice, 2.5, 3 inch sticker on the front. You could
Oh.
slap that on a magnet, no problem, dude. Yeah.
That's it, and we'll have to find some. Where can so I went to your website, and there was only like 6 places, where
Yeah.
on your
So,
have you
yeah,
not
sorry about that.
updated it?
No, the website is actually under construction. The website that you land on right now is not. We haven't touched it in like a year and a half. So we should probably honestly just deactivate the web address for a second. But the new website will have a full list of retailers. It'll have a retailer portal for actual store customers, stuff like that. The list that you see on there hasn't been updated in a minute. Were you trying to get them from one of the people on the list? Because they
Yeah,
should also.
and none of them on the list sell online except Scallywags. And we were talking about that. Is Scallywags at it? What's going on with Scallywags?
Scallywags is no more. So the owner of
Okay.
Scallywags was a guy named Chris. He sold it and it became Javelina Cigars now. So it's under new ownership. I don't know if they have an online portal, to be honest with you. But for you guys in Florida, what's not on the list? I've got Island Girl Cigar Bar in Jacksonville. I've got Karen's Place in Daytona. Who else? You could go to tinderbox.com right now. I've got a couple of Tinderbox locations that carry it, so you can go straight.
Oh,
to their
okay, yeah,
websites.
because I wanted to get some
Yeah.
for the show. Then I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I find it hard to believe that this was the list. And then Karen's
Right.
website. I got to talk to Bruce about that. I went to clicked on the link to her website, and then like you can't browse online. I don't know where that. Yeah, and ordering. I don't know if you. I don't know. So that was a whole.
Online's tough, man. Yeah, just save yourself the trouble. Just go to tinderbox.com. You can see the whole lineup right there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So but you still need a website. People searching SEO.
We're getting there.
Or
at
least just have the landing page. You can't just disable the whole.
Yeah,
thing,
it'll be the new site should be live honestly any day now, like within days. So.
Okay. So back to the factory. So you're talking with Hochi, and so he takes you out and you start blending. So how long were you guys down there for that first session talking with him?
The first session we were down there a week, maybe just over a week, and during that time we came up with our first 3 blends. We've made several trips since then for subsequent blends. We have 4 cigars on the market right now, with 2 being debuted in July. So we've had a lot of trips down there for blending and checking on production, stuff like that.
All right, so we're gonna circle back around PCA 2021. Was that your inaugural launch, or were you at TPE that year?
We were not. Well, we were at TPE that year, but we didn't have a booth. We were kind of just shaking hands, passing out business cards at TPE. PCA 2021, we had our booth. Or no. PCA 2022, we had our booth.
2022.
Yeah, we launched officially launched product in December of 2021. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I think that's where I got. Yeah, I was reading about that. Yeah, it was December 2021, PCA 2022. How did the show go for you guys?
It was good, man. It was really good. We are distributed by Illusione. And so at PCA, we were very near Illusione and everybody under the Illusione distribution umbrella. And so it was good foot traffic. We had a lot of curious people like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? It was great to just smoke with people and introduce them to who we were and let them know that we're hoping to be here for real and do this for a long time. We got a lot of traction.
Yeah, I didn't. I was only there for one day, so I didn't get a chance to see everybody. So I didn't see you. I know I had to make my way over to Illusione, so I was talking with them over there. How'd you get hooked up with getting them to distribute for you?
That was another stroke of luck, man. We've had a few things just kind of fall our way in this endeavor, dude. We've worked with Dion obviously for a long time through the retail spot through Beehive, right? So we've known Dion, forever. He's one state over from us. He's 7 hours away by car. So he made a rare appearance at the bar after the show one night. And,
he came out,
bro. Yeah, I was like, is that? dude, is that Dion? I was hanging out with Kendrick. And
Yeah.
he walked up. It was before there was a big crowd, so he knew what he was doing, right? But he walked up and was walking by. I don't know if he was looking for a drink or looking to say hi to someone. We're like, Dion, hey, what's up, man? Great to see you. We had known at the time that he was doing distribution, and we were just going to distribute for ourselves here in Salt Lake. And so we were like, hey, man, can we pick your brain about distribution? You know, ask you a few questions. And that conversation lasted all of 2 minutes before he was like, I'll just distribute for you. Like, just let me do it. We're like, all right, yeah, that's easier. Let's do that. Absolutely. So he hooked us up with his distribution guy, Howard, and it was easy peasy.
So how does that work? So I know Illusione distributes for quite a few people, and then there's these different distribution hubs throughout the country, you know,
Right.
manufacturers. How does that work? So obviously Hochi, makes the cigars. Do they send everything to Dion's distribution center, or does he
Yeah,
hold anything
exactly.
back? Because it's or does he have what's that term when you got a warehouse where you don't have to pay taxes? What's that term, Kerr?
So it's the bonded warehouse or the
Bonded
free
warehouse,
trade
yeah.
zone.
Okay.
So Dion actually went through the painful process of making sure that his warehouse was in a free trade zone in Nevada, in Reno. So it's basically warehouse to warehouse, and that helps a lot as far as like what you pay up front versus what you pay later, right? So not to get into the weeds with it, but it was a blessing for us. You know what I mean? It was a good move. So yeah, it goes from La Galera to customs in Miami, and then straight to the warehouse in Reno. They unbox everything, itemize everything. They keep inventory counts. When I put in an order for one of our customers, Howard does the fulfillment and the invoicing, and they handle that side of it. So it's nice, man, to have somebody have your back that way when we're trying to deal with everything else.
All right, so not to get into specifics. I don't want to price. So I'm trying to think of how Dion makes money doing this. So does he charge, not necessarily you guys, does he charge for an incoming shipment and outgoing? How does Dion make money?
Dion makes money in a lot of ways, man. Dion's a savvy guy, bro.
Yeah. On the warehouse side, though.
No, as far as fulfillment goes, usual fulfillment agreements across any industry is going to be usually a percentage of invoice. So for the end customer,
okay.
something like, yeah. So
okay, I was wondering. So I didn't know if you guys paid him to bring it in. So yeah, so just a percentage of the invoice. So
yeah, okay. And I'm sure there are other costs involved, but Kendrick pays the bills. So it's I'm just the one selling stuff and looking good on the internet.
That's it. The cigars are free.
Yeah.
They show up in my hands.
It's like
magic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Magic like a pair of underwear.
Magic underwear. That's the only way I get stuff done. Yeah, dude.
There
Absolutely.
was the segue in.
Great segue, Kev.
To the magic underwear.
Super subtle.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, but no, yeah. It's,
Fuck me.
So did you get a lot of new? Did you get a lot of looky-loos? Did you get a lot of new clients at the trade show? How
Yeah. I think it's a healthy balance of both. For me, PCA seems to be you've got like maybe one day of like serious buying, and then a couple days of looky-loos, right? So you've got guys who are showing up and they're just like, nope, I'm there for one day. I'm going to hit the people on my list and then I'm going to go home because they don't want to fuck around in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
But then you've got other people who are ready to make a week out of it. And, luckily they stumbled out of bed in time to make it to the show. And then they're mostly present enough to ask questions, right? It's a good mix of everything. So I love trade shows for that reason. I'm going to talk to people who maybe aren't going to buy, but you hope you plant that seed for later. And then you got people who are like genuinely interested and open-minded, and once they try the tobacco, it's an easy sell. So for me, what was interesting was actually TPE this year. TPE this year was pretty cool, man. I feel like we got more traction at that show than we did a PCA, and it'll probably be that way for us for a while, based on the fact that we've only been around for a year and a half. You know, the more people hear our name and then come to the booth, it's gonna ramp up for a couple of shows. So it's nice to see that ramping up, I guess, is the point there.
Yeah, I've heard other boutique cigar companies say TPE does a little bit better for them, and they like that trade show a little bit more for the cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
I mean, because it's got to be at least half the cost for you guys of PCA.
I think so. I think it was around there. Yeah, man. And I mean, cost aside, like, is the trip worth it? You know what I mean? So obviously we were at PCA because it was worth it. TPE was definitely worth it, man. We had more people. I feel like TPE was less looky-loo, less, exhibition, and more business, more like these people are here to add stuff to their humidor and they're talking to us for a reason, so it just felt more deliberate.
Yeah. What about a Dortmund? Is that one of your inner tobacco? Is that on your bucket list?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's on the bucket list, man. If not this year, then hopefully next year. It's that to me is, it as far as like feedback from other people goes, it's kind of like PCA for Europe. You know what I mean? So there's really no reason not to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, other than the cost. I mean, that's a cost.
I mean, there's that. Yeah, that's a cost. Right? Yeah.
That's it. So, are you, so you got TPE, this year, you got PCA. That's a hell of an investment for, to try and recoup that,
Sure.
in a timely manner,
Sure.
because there are companies that work, will work for the rest of this year just to recoup that cost,
absolutely.
of going there.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, no, it's one of those things where that's why, we really believe in the product that we're offering. We know that it's good quality. We stand behind the quality, and then the rest is just the story that you get to use to sell the product, right? So it's like, if there's a no, it's not usually because of the cigars. It's because you maybe don't know me yet. You don't know Kendrick yet, right? So it's our job to get over that hurdle and introduce you to who we are, and hopefully help you understand that we're not complete assholes. You know what I mean?
Do you guys ever think about hiring a couple of people to dress in white shirts and black ties and ride around on bicycles, handing out your cigars?
If anyone was going to wear a white shirt, a black tie, and ride around on a bicycle and hand out cigars, it would be Kendrick.
Okay.
100% he would be the guy on the bike. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. You just have a book. You open it's hollowed out. It's hollowed out. So you go up to somebody and I'm like, hey, can I get a moment of your time? I'd like to talk to you about, and then you hand them a cigar, and then
I love that. I love everything about it. Yeah. No, great idea. If you see it happen, I'm going to pretend that this conversation didn't occur.
That's it. It's all yours, because if that happened to me, I would be like, yes, I would like to talk more. So please, what do you have to say?
I love it.
So, do either you or Ken? I mean, you guys were in obviously in the business, Beehive. Do you guys have any fanboy moments? Like, oh my God, I just talked to,
I still do. Yeah.
See, I'm still that way. I'm still that
100%
way.
Still that way all the time. Yeah, dude. Because to me, like, those people are the reason I'm in the industry. You know what I mean? Like, these are the people who blazed the trail ahead of us, and like, Kendrick's not as prone to being starstruck as I am. But I'm a nerd, dude. I'm a cigar nerd above all else. So when it comes to like sharing, we're a PCA and I've got Nick Melillo in the booth right across from me. I'm like, it's fucking Nick Melillo, dude. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's like, or you walk by and you're like, what's up, Pete Johnson? And he's like,
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally have fanboy moments all the time. We were lucky enough to do the Meet the Professor podcast with Jose Blanco and Carlito Fuente a few weeks ago. And that whole time I was trying to answer questions. I was like, Carlito Fuente just asked me that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I know. I remember the first time I said, and he touched my beard. And I'm like, oh my God, Carlito Fuente is touching my beard,
He's a beard toucher. He'll get you.
He is. I've seen him. I thought I was special until I saw him touch other beards.
Well, look at that beard. How could you not? Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Same Pete Johnson. Like I said, when I get like a text from Pete, and I'm like,
Yeah,
you know,
man.
like Steve Saka's in my phone as Steve fucking Saka. That's
Steve
how
fucking
it comes.
Saka. Yeah,
That's
dude.
it. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's
Jose
it.
Blanco's in my phone as Jose fucking Blanco. You know,
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
know.
yeah, dude.
The
Yeah.
only one I get nervous is James from Sinistro, because he sends me he's like a fucking millennial, and then he'll send me like a weird text. He's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? And then I got to send back. I'm like, I don't know what you hear. I go, sorry.
I don't know. What are you talking about? Yeah.
And then he's just like, no, like then he's like, no, what are you doing like right now? And I'm like, and then I've had to tell him I'm like, James, stop fucking texting me that way.
Well, he texts the way he talks. Like, if you've had a conversation with him, that's just how he talks. And so when you read a text, you have to plug in the James voice to interpret the tone of the text. You know what I mean? Because he'll text me too, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, like right now? Like, what?
So it's dude. Yeah, DOOD. Dude.
DOOD. Yeah. Exactly.
What are you like? What the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, what'd you hear? I'm like, and then it'll be like on a Tuesday. So I'm trying to think of like, shit, what did I say on the show last night? Because that's always in my mind. Like, what dumb shit did I say? You know, now it got back to James. You know, I'm like,
you got to consult with Jessica then. Jessica, did I say anything stupid?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So,
it is what it is. Take the constructive feedback afterwards. You know what I mean? Say your thing. You know.
That's it. So 1 week post PCA, your inaugural debut. How was Apostate Cigars different than it was 1 day prior to PCA? Not just, I mean, did you get a lot of, good knowledge? I mean, how's the company different?
That was a good question, man. So I think before PCA, you have a lot of preconceptions about what it's going to be, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to open 150 new accounts, and we're just going to be the talk of the town, and everyone's going to know who we are, and we're going to be on every shelf. And you're like, a week later, that definitely didn't happen, and it was weird that you thought that it might. You know what I mean? So it's like
you're on Cigar Aficionado's website. Are they talking about me yet?
Where's hashtag Apostate? I'm looking. No, dude, it was one of those, like, it was really cool because it got to solidify that, like, growth for us is organic, and it stayed organic. And I don't know if a blow up moment would have been a good thing. You know what I mean? So it's like steadily picking up steam, each trade show, every town I'm in, every shop I visit, slowly, steadily picking up steam. Every podcast I do, there's always an uptick, right? And so eventually you get to a point where there's enough uptick that maybe you don't have to try I don't want to say you don't have to try as hard, but now when I walk into a shop, people are like, oh yeah, I've heard of Apostate. It's great to meet you. Versus a year ago, who the fuck are you? So there's definite progress being made, and I think a week after PCA, that progress was becoming more evident.
Christopher asked a question.
How did you guys do at the BCA fest? Oh, you guys were at BCA as well?
Yeah, we went to the Boutique Cigar Festival in Indiana in August. That was a blast, man. That was super fun. Cool way to be like face to face with consumers the first time as a manufacturer. That was our first. Instead of selling to retailers, we were selling to the actual smokers and having dinner with them, having drinks with them, hanging out, and that was rad, man. I would do that again in a heartbeat. I think they're doing it again this year, but I think they're looking at Florida instead of Indiana. So the BCA is a cool organization, man.
Yeah. I think that's what I read too. They're doing it in Florida. So if we're in Florida, so we'll definitely have to hook up.
I think they're looking at Tampa, dude. Honestly, I think I heard they were looking at Tampa. So
really,
I think so. Yeah,
that's what I heard.
Wow, that's hopefully find a reasonable venue, because there are places outside Tampa that may be a little bit more cost effective, but a lot of great lounges. A
lot of great lounges. Yeah, I love Tampa, man. That's
you can have it at your lounge, Kev.
Yeah. Have it at our lounge. Yeah, the one we're building. Yeah, we can fit 8 people in there. Maybe 30. So. So that's it. So let's talk about your blends now that we're so what were the first 3 that you? What was the first one? We'll start with the first one. What was the first blend?
First 3 blends happened during our first trip down to see Hochi in February of 2021. So that week we learned a lot. We got to work with Hochi's son, Jose Manuel. I don't know if you guys have met him.
I have not.
super smart kid. He's going to go far in the industry. He's going to pick up the mantle and run with it. So the first thing we blended at all was kind of at sort of Hochi's direction, right? Because we've never done this before. So Hochi kind of writes down, we tell him what we're looking for. We want a nice Habano, Dominican Habano, but we're going to do our thing on our part to kind of make it unique, make it apostate, right? So he writes down, what leaves would be good for a recipe for Habano. We take the note back, we go back to the blending room, and there's a bunch of leaves out there, and we just start going. We just, pick through, okay, these are the Ligeros we want to try, the Secos, the Visos, the binder, the wrapper. Let's try all these and narrow it down. So you spend that time, smoking each individual leaf, highlighting what flavor stands out to you, and then finding a way to bring it all together and turn it into a cigar, and then you have to adjust the ratios. So the first thing.
I don't want to interrupt. So was there someone was there someone in that room with you? You're picking the cigars and like they're or the tobaccos and they're making it.
So Jose Manuel was in the room with us. Yeah. And then their blending production manager was in the room with us, and so he's the one rolling up the little fumas for us as we're asking for different leaves. And so we're definitely, we've got help, right? Because we're just a couple of white guys from Utah.
Oh, okay. I'm like, are you guys picking it up? What do you? I mean, this looks good.
Yes and no, right? Like this is they kind of give us like suggestions as far as here's what you should be picking from. And so we picked from that and then narrowed it down. So that was the initiatory is our Habano. It's a Sumatra wrapper. We landed on a San Andres binder and then a variety of Dominican fillers. So it's a very mostly traditional Habano. But that San Andres binder, we felt really tied the blend together. It's like the rug in the Big Lebowski. It's the thing that, you get rid of it and something's missing, right? So that's what stood out for us was that San Andres, and using it as a binder just tied the whole thing together. So that was that's the initiatory.
So how many iterations of that cigar before, like, changing things up before you got it right? Was that pretty quick? Was that like a couple?
It was pretty quick.
Yeah,
it was that day. It was pretty quick. We went through several iterations of it, but it happened that day. So, and then, obviously there's the thing where you want to fly home and take samples with you and see how it does over time.
We've talked about that before on the show.
Yeah. So it's, everything is not necessarily locked in the day you leave, but you're at a very good starting point. You think that if everything goes the way it's supposed to, it should end up what you want it to be. And that was the case for us. So, that was the first one we blended. And then that same week we blended our Maduro. It's called the Deseret.
Let's go back to the initiatory for a second. What's the meaning behind the name? So I want to go to the meaning behind the names of the cigars as well.
The initiatory is obviously it's got kind of a layered meaning for us. Initiatory meaning this is our introduction to blending. This is our introduction to bringing a product to the world. And it's also the name of the first ceremony that you go through as a Mormon when you enter the temple for the first time. So it's, it's kind of attaching itself to our Mormon roots that way. The symbol that we have now, not the one on the graphic that you showed earlier, but the current logo, that first symbol, the A, it's different now, is a symbol taken from the outside of the Mormon temple. If you ever visit one and you look up, there's carvings in the stone, and it's kind of an oval with a couple of hands shaking as the emblem. So that's, we took it from the temple because we wanted to, the initiatory ceremony, and it's our first cigar. It's our introduction to what we feel like good Dominican tobacco from Hochi's factory can taste like. So.
All right, so we're gonna back up for again 1 second before we get into the Deseret or Deseret. Deseret. Let's talk about for 1 second the name Apostate. I never even had that as a question on the list of what that name meant. How you guys came up with that name?
Yeah, that is that's kind of the whole vibe for us. Is Kendrick and I had very similar backgrounds. We didn't know each other, but we had very parallel upbringings. Growing up in Utah, obviously there's the whole Mormon thing. when we did both make the decision to leave the church, when you're no longer following the path that they think you should be on, they call you an apostate. It's a religious term for someone who's no longer following a belief system. So that's what they call you. And we figured, being a cigar brand in Utah and having the history that we have, if that's what they're going to call us, we should probably lean in a little bit, you know?
Own it. Own it.
Yeah. Just own
Yeah.
it, man. You call me an apostate? All right, cool. I'm an apostate. Yeah.
All right. So the next cigar, the Deseret.
The Deseret, yeah, that's our Maduro, man. I wish you guys here. I think I have one. I'm gonna be off camera for 1 second.
Okay.
I want to show it to you.
All right. This will be.
I feel like he might know the question that Manny always asks.
Oh,
So you have to make
yeah.
sure you ask
Yeah.
him.
Where is Manny
He
tonight?
was on earlier. He said with his buttons.
Oh, what was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the Deseret. In the Book of Mormon, the term Deseret means honeybee. When the pioneers settled Utah, it was known as the territory of Deseret. Utah is the beehive state. From that tradition, it kind of means, it symbolized their industrious work ethic, you know, they're hardworking people,
Oh, okay.
blah, 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 right? So the territory of Deseret means honeybee. So when we made the Maduro, we've got, let's get some focus there. You've got some Connecticut
okay.
accent stripes, and then at the top, you've got a cap that kind of looks like a stinger. We wanted kind of a honeybee vibe, right? For a Maduro, it's pretty sweet too. So it hits on, you know, the honeybee theme. It's a San Andres wrapper. We got a Dominican Olor binder, and then you have filler from the DR and Nicaragua in there to really sweeten it up. So that one's probably my top seller. You mentioned your boy Boston Jimmy at the top of the show. He gave us a 96 rating on that one, and he also gave us the number 4 cigar of the year with that one.
Nice.
So it's a good cigar, man. Yeah.
Oh, right on. And then so that was the second cigar you're blending during your session down there. Is this still day? Is this still day one of blending, or is this now day?
God, no. Yeah, no.
Okay, that's I'm like, how, you know, like you guys just banging these out and then
no.
So
It's when you're blending, it's a lot. You know what I mean? So you can wear out the palate super quickly. So no, we stuck with kind of a one cigar at a time situation when we're trying to taste stuff. So it was, I don't remember if it was the next day or the day after, but either way, the next one we worked on was the Deseret. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what was morning 2 like when you guys woke up? Like just you're like,
for real?
Yeah,
it was
like no more cigars. No more.
Totally surreal. Yeah, it's you know, that's the nice thing about being down there is like, yeah, you're smoking a lot and you're taking it all in, but you're in the environment where that stuff is created. It smokes cleaner, everything is fresher, everything's like, you know, the right pH, the right humidity. I really didn't get a lot of palate fatigue wrapping over into the next day. After a good night's sleep and a good Dominican breakfast, I was ready to go. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and then the next cigar.
The third one is called the Illusione. That's our Connecticut. So it's a Connecticut wrapper, San Andres binder. So far in all 3 blends, we've used San Andres somehow, right? And then we've got filler from the DR and a little bit of filler from Paraguay in that cigar, which we didn't even know existed until we were in the blending room. We were kind of stuck on a note that we felt like we were missing from the cigar. We just couldn't quite get there. And Jose Manuel, Hochi's son, was like, you know, we should try some of this filler we got from Paraguay because I think it'll do what you're looking for. And he brought it out, and we rolled up a little fuma of just that leaf, smoked it by itself. I walked out of there wanting a whole bundle of just that leaf, man. That tobacco is like buttered popcorn. It's like creamy, a little bit salty, a little bit sweet. It adds a lot to the blend. That one is a 45 ring gauge, and it's also a torpedo. So it's a thin, long torpedo. Illusione is another Book of Mormon term. It means compass. So the cigar is kind of long and thin and pointed like the needle of a compass. So, yeah.
Wow.
So, were there times where you guys had? I mean, 'cause I it's work. You guys are down there from work, but you're also there it's like you said, it's a surreal time. You're blending cigars. Your adrenaline's pumping.
Right.
You guys have to calm yourselves down? Like, hey, take a step back. Like, I want this, and it's like going to a buffet for the first time. You come back with a giant plate. And you're like, what am I gonna do with all of this?
Absolutely, it was like that, dude. Yeah, 100%. You have to, especially me, right? Because like I was telling you earlier, I'm a cigar nerd. Like Kendrick is way better at being like even keel focused, like into what we're there for, right? Me, I'm like, holy shit, man! Like we're blending cigars with Hochi Blanco. Like, let's go. Like I want to. Let's do all the things, let's go to the farm. Let's go visit Ram at El Artista and see if he wants to work with us. You know what I mean? It's like, you couldn't shut me up. You couldn't turn me off. I was able to like, find my zen, find my center, refocus, right. And do what we were there to do. But I am a little excitable for sure.
Oh yeah. I would be like, I want all 13 of these tobaccos in my one cigar, please.
Dude, yeah. It gets to that point. And that's what's nice about Kendrick and I both being involved, right? If it was just me blending or just him blending, I'm sure we would end up with a good product. But where it's both of us, especially with the retail background. I mean, I was the buyer for Beehive Cigars. I'm the one smoking every sample that comes to the store. I'm the one, quality control testing every cigar in the humidor so that I can recommend it to people to buy, right? So after doing that for 5-6 years, I've smoked thousands of cigars. Kendrick smoked thousands of cigars. We have an idea of what represents good quality, but also B, what are people asking for? What are people into? So you kind of take that knowledge with you when you go down there. And that way you're not just skating on, Brandon's nerdy, overactive, ready to go brain. It's you're taking research with you. Like, okay, here's traditionally what I've enjoyed about a Connecticut. Here's what I've enjoyed in a Maduro. How do we bring that to the table? How do we make it our own thing? How do we use Hochi's really good quality Dominican tobacco to get there? So it's we had a lens to look through, for sure.
Right on. Gordon, we're going to get to your question here shortly. Jessica, can you put Sonia Coda's up? And they asked, I watched an interview with EP Carrillo where he said his blenders tasters would drink V8 tomato juice to cleanse the palate when creating new cigars. Did Hochi and his team, did they have a process, in between where you guys were, refreshing yourselves?
No, man, it was every man for himself. You know what I mean? No, they know that we're not novices when it comes to smoking. They weren't trying to babysit us. They would ask, they'd be like, hey, you guys good? How you feeling? You need a break? You tired? And, we would tell them yes or no, right? And for me, cleansing the palate means some sparkling water and an espresso. And then I'm back to it. You know what I mean? So I know there are people who are very deliberate when they're blending, but I feel like I've done this enough and for long enough that I know when my palate needs a timeout and when I'm still okay. So it wasn't too involved that way. I have heard the tomato juice trick. I've never used it though.
I haven't either. Saka doing a little thing with him, and it was room temperature. I hate sparkling water, but his was room temperature sparkling water. Yeah, and that always does for me. I know. Yeah, Kerr, is that what you use as well?
Yep. Just
room temperature sparkling water.
Yeah, even when I smoke cigars, that and coffee, I really enjoy drinking that when smoking a cigar.
Yeah, Steve, that was the one thing in that the class where we were rolling these little tabaqueros. It was sparkling water, and then he had bowls of coffee beans on the table. Mm-hmm. So what we would do is we would drink the sparkling water and then sniff the coffee beans. And the first time I did that, like that combination, it reset. It reset my body. And
it was just it does. It's invigorating too. Yeah. Absolutely. No. And I think the room temperature part is just by virtue of the fact that you're in Nicaragua or in the Dominican Republic. It's not going to stay cold for long anyway. So room temperature is where you're at.
Oh, yeah. So
Kev, I have a question, Kev, but I'm going to wait till you get through the lineup.
Okay, so that'll be our next one, the one that Kerr and I are most excited about, and that is because Kerr and I tell everybody that there aren't two people in this industry that love Candela more than Kerr and I, hands down.
Fuck yeah. Awesome.
It's the best. So let's talk about your feathered
Love it.
serpent. Now I don't remember a feathered serpent in like the only thing I know about the Book of Mormon is from South Park. So that's
Right.
everything I know about.
Dude, honestly, that's a great tie-in. Like the South Park episodes about the Book of Mormon, like they're satire and they're hilarious and they're obviously making fun of shit. They're also very accurate. They're very like they have a lot of like, yes, this is true information in there. So no, feathered serpent does not come directly from the Book of Mormon. It's one of those things that's not really doctrine in the Mormon world, but it is a commonly held belief by a lot of members of the faith that when the Aztecs and ancient cultures were talking about Quetzalcoatl, that they were trying to refer to Jesus Christ. The whole premise of the Book of Mormon is that it's another story of Jesus Christ preaching to his people, the native people in the Americas, which was, a lost tribe of Jerusalem and blah, blah, blah. We can get into it. But the Mormon belief there is like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, if Joseph Smith's Book of Mormon is referring to, the ancient peoples of early, North, Central, and South America, well, then Quetzalcoatl is obviously just a representation of Jesus. And so Quetzalcoatl is commonly referred to as the feathered serpent, and that was sort of our tie-in there as far as
because I've always wanted to visit the temple of the feathered serpent. Like I said, that's what I was wondering if that's where this came from.
It is,
Okay.
Was it mentioned in South Park, Kevin?
Well, no, I know Ancient Aliens is where I learned about the temple of the feathered serpent. So
I don't know if you wanted to.
Like Guatemala, right? Or Mexico?
What the hell does Candela got to do with the feathered serpent, please?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think it's in Mexico, the Mayan temple.
Mexico,
but, awesome. So, I mean, was that kind of a shock with Ho Chi? It's like, hey, I don't get a lot of boutique asking for this candela.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. It was almost a no from Ho Chi, and he doesn't tell us no, really. You know what I mean? He's pretty content to let us do our thing because we bring everything to him when we're done, and it goes through his desk, and he smokes it and puts his little seal of approval. Like, yeah, cool. I'm comfortable with this coming out of my factory, right? So when we told him during our second blending trip that we wanted to make a candela, he straight up at first he was like, "Don't do it. Nobody likes candela. I don't like candela. It won't sell." And we're like, bro, it's called the feathered serpent. Like, we want, you know what I mean? Like, we want this candela. It fits the theme, man. Come on. So he relented, and he let us fuck around with some candela that he just happened to have, which was not a lot. It was candela from Ecuador. It was your traditional Habano seed, really thin, more yellow than green, right? So we came up with a really cool blend with it, and used a San Andres binder on that one again, and then all Dominican filler. And we took it back to him, and he really liked it. And so, which was a surprise to him and us. He was like, okay, cool. Yeah, we can make a candela. I don't have any candela.
Yeah.
So we were like, what are we going to do? So he actually ended up growing an entire crop of Dominican Corojo seed candela on his farm in Jacagua in the Dominican Republic just for that cigar. It's so good. It's so good. Being Corojo seed, being Dominican grown, it's thicker. It's not as fragile as your Ecuadorian candela. It's not as grassy. It doesn't have that like wet hay note to it. It's very creamy. It's a little sweet. It's really interesting, man. I'm going to actually send you guys some. So after the show, Kevin, give me your info. And you guys being fanboys of candela, I'll send you a couple.
Oh, it's great. And that that says a lot for Ho Chi, because he could have just called the Olivas. They supply candelas to 99% of the industry, but just to grow, like, oh, hey, you guys want tobacco? I'll just grow it real quick.
I don't know this. This is speculation, but I kind of feel like Ho Chi was maybe wanting to fuck around with candela a little anyway, and this was kind of a good excuse. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know that. That's
gotta be the only. I mean, you dedicated a portion of your farm to a tobacco that you don't like.
That he doesn't like. He doesn't smoke it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool for us. That really made us feel like Ho Chi's in it with us. You know what I mean? It made it feel like he's not just being nice. Like, he really wants to see Apostate succeed. He knows that what we're doing is bringing an interesting, good quality product to people. And so to have him dedicate a portion of his farm to grow a wrapper for this company that's still on its way up and becoming more well known is a huge testament to, I think, to what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it definitely a testament, that gives you, that's a great talking point, in the industry.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, it's like, hey, oh, where'd you guys get the Candela? Did you get it from Oliva? No, Hochi grew the first Candela that he's ever done before, on his field for
that's
us.
Huge.
That's huge. I mean, as a cigar nerd, I would be like, okay, like I'm, like that's mad props right there. I'm definitely gonna smoke that one.
Significance was not lost on me, man. I was pretty overwhelmed by that, actually. That's a big move.
Plus, those who don't know a lot about Candela, just what you just described, the difference between the Ecuadorian thinner wrapper with what he's growing, it also it introduces folks to Candela and the knowledge and the background behind it, and even your description of the flavor profile, might even get someone to give it a try, because
absolutely, and that's
folks roll in there and they see green cigars, they're like, my friend told me that just tastes gross.
Right, or it's the cigar that they reach for on St. Patrick's Day, and that's
right.
You know what I mean? It's
and the problem with that is, like you said, St. Patrick's Day. I've said it 1,000 times. There are more bad Candelas on the market than there are good ones. So on St. Patrick's Day, your local lounge is having an event. You're buying a $3 Candela because it's green, to go with your green beer, and that's the Candela that that you're being in, like, oh my God, this sucks, but let me get a photo for Instagram with my green cigar.
For me, Candela is less about like the flavor or how it's blended. It's more about construction, because I've had so many just blow up because they, you know what I mean? The tobacco expands, and that wrapper is really fragile. So the second you start lighting and putting heat to it, it cracks, man. So that's the tough luck for me with Candela, and why I'm super glad that the Corojo seed that he's using is so thick and it's kind of toothy. When you guys get them, you'll be able to see it's got a closed foot on it. So when you get it, kind of peel out that closed foot a little bit and feel the texture of that wrapper. It's thick, man. It's hardy. You can stretch that shit. Candela is, I think, what confuses people. It's not a seed varietal, right? It's not a type of tobacco. It's a fermentation process.
Right.
So by virtue of fermenting it in the Candela tradition, you could use technically any tobacco you wanted. Obviously, there are going to be ones that are better suited for it, and I feel like we landed on a winner for sure.
That was your question, Kev, right? A while back. Can any tobacco be a Candela?
That's what I can't remember who we were talking about that. Can any and obviously some definitely work better. And I want a Connecticut broadleaf Candela. Can I have that? Can I have a Mexican San Andreas Candela? I want that as well.
Right.
So,
that's when you get into murky territory. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't know. Like I said, Candela. It was like it was a cigar everybody smoked up until like 60,
like 1975.
Late 60s. It was still pretty popular. 78, 79, kind of disappeared.
It used to be referred to as like the American style wrapper.
The American market selection.
Yeah, the American market selection. Exactly. So it had its own, category in the U.S. market. It was so prominent. I mean, I remember watching TV shows from the 70s when I was a kid. Like, I think it was like Kojak or something, where he had a fucking Candela cigar. That was like all you could find.
Yeah.
The old MASH, Barney Miller, Hogan's Heroes, all those shows, they all have Candela cigars.
Yeah, that was the only thing out there. So your partner Kendrick, was he big into Candelas too, or is he just like, what are you doing?
Both are. Yeah, we both are. That was kind of more the catalyst than the fact that we wanted a green cigar for our feathered serpent themed line there. It was more about Kendrick and I love Candela, especially when they're good, right? So for us, like, the holy grail was the Illusione HL Candela, or like the Illusione 888 Candela.
Yeah,
man, like for me, Dion was the gold standard for blending Candela. You've got other good ones out there, the Roma Craft, Jake Wyatt. There's plenty of good Candela. So when we sat down to blend one, it was less about, okay, how do we copy that success, and more about how do we continue that trend and make an interesting everyday smokable Candela. So that was the challenge for us. And I think the fillers we used, that San Andres binder, and then that proprietary wrapper, fucking nailed it, man. I'm so proud of that cigar. I love
That's
that
awesome.
Candela.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember telling Karen this a while back. I sent John Olive Sr. an email, and I just had like 2 questions about Candela. And then he's like, hey, here's my phone. Just call me. And I talked to him for 2.5 hours on the phone. I set up my computer. I'm typing as fast as he's talking, taking all these notes. And it's just like, he just gave me a couple hours of his time. And
that's awesome.
I just learned everything I could ever
so cool.
want to know about Candela, about keeping it refrigerated, this and that, and out
halting
of the sun.
The fermentation process.
That's it. And Kerr, visited tons of lounges where the lighting, it's no longer green. Yeah. It's not even yellow anymore or green.
No, it looks like a Connecticut, or some of them will even get darker. Some of them will just turn brown. Man. Yeah. I've seen it go both ways.
Yeah, that's like I said, we've all seen that in the lounges.
Don't forget about that question.
Yep. We'll come back to that because we're getting coming out on that. So is that so? The Feathered Serpent, that's on the market. So we've got the next one. So I had these last 4 that were on your website, but it said coming soon. So I don't know if those were out because of it's the outdated website. The Sword of Laban.
Sword of Laban. Yeah, that's another Book of Mormon term. Yep. Everything that we're doing kind of ties into our Mormon heritage, our Mormon upbringing. And it's not, I want to clarify that we're not trying to make fun of anything. This is us embracing where we came from and tying it into where we are now. We take, nostalgia from the community that we left and put it into the community that we chose, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So everything has a little bit of a, Mormon mythology vibe to it. Yeah. So the Sword of Laban, another Book of Mormon term. It's actually kind of a interesting story. If you ever have time, when you see me at the trade show, I'll tell you the story. It's a good one. But that's going to be a Churchill. It's 7 1/4 in length, 47 ring gauge, Corojo wrapper, San Andres binder, and then all Dominican filler. So it's reminiscent of the initiatory in that it is another Habano, but with that Corojo wrapper on there, with the ring gauge and the length and the fillers we chose, it's a little sweeter than the initiatory. It's a little lighter in body and strength. So it's a nice, cool, afternoon smoke. I love that cigar. It's very, it's unique, but you get a lot of what you love out of a Habano from it, for sure. And then number 6, so we'll be debuting that one. That's our 5th blend. We'll be debuting that one and our 6th blend at PCA. They're both in production right now. We're just waiting for, a little resting time and then packaging and shipping to the warehouse. So number 5 and number 6 will be at PCA. The number 6 is a box pressed Toro. We call it the Zarahemla, which was a city from the Book of Mormon that was destroyed by God for being wicked. So kind of like a South American version of Babylon, right?
Okay.
That one is a Pennsylvania broadleaf wrapper, and then a Cameroon binder, and then Dominican and Mexican filler. It's easily the most interesting thing we've blended so far, and it's probably our strongest blend as far as strength goes too.
All right, so then we've got 2 more, in your lineup, and I'm assuming maybe these will be next year's PCA.
Yeah, we're thinking probably next year. We'll definitely start the blending before then, obviously. We're hoping to do that soon, actually. And then that way we've got plenty of time to lock everything in for next year's trade show. So number 7 will be called Moroni's Trumpet. You're familiar with the little angel blowing a trumpet on top of the Mormon temples? That's the angel Moroni, and we're going to call it Moroni's Trumpet. So we know the shape, and we have an idea of where we want to go with the blend, but we haven't blended it yet. And then the last one will be called the Endowment. which, like the initiatory being the first ceremony you go through in the temple, the endowment is the last ceremony you go through in the temple. So it's kind of the two bookends to the 8 blends there across the board. So
this is the 8 blends. That's going to be it. Where do you go? Where do you go from? I mean, now we're a couple of years out still. Where but
for sure.
So will these change? Like you say, you only you have one size in each one. Well, do you think that's going to have to change? You're adding more sizes to each blend, or come up with
we've talked about that, because you don't want to be stagnant, and you definitely don't want to stay on the market with just the thing you did up front and then nothing else, right? You've got to stay creative. You've got to give the people something more. And for us, we want to stay creative. That's the bulk of the motivation for us blending cigars in the first place, was to tap into our need to be creative. So, we've talked about doing different sizes. I think if we branch out into other sizes, it'll be more like a limited edition type stuff. So like here's the Corona pack. You know what I mean? Here's all 8 blends in a Corona or something like that. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of different ways for us to get creative. We want to do maybe a special yearly release on a certain theme. There's the good thing about Mormon mythology is we got a lot of source material, so we're not going to run out of
short of names.
That's it. Maybe some kind of magic release. I don't know.
Here come the magic underwear.
I mean, well, since you brought it up again, I don't know what you keep. What's
I'll not the name of them.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, Jessica. Do not ruin this moment for Kevin.
Yeah.
Well, I'll redirect away from the underwear. But I did have a question for you, because of all the experience of having the lounge, and like you said, smoking thousands of cigars, and now you have the opportunity to blend your own cigars. Now, do all these cigars and blends, are they kind of representative of what you feel either were missing from what you had smoked before, or is there just one blend that you say this particular cigar really kind of personifies the one thing or the one flavor, the one blend that I really wish we had in the shop but we never had?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that to all of our blends, and that's again where coming from the retail side was really beneficial, right? There's a lot of, it's a finite amount of tobacco out there. You know what I mean? We're all just different cooks in kind of the same kitchen, right? So how do you use those ingredients differently? And for us, that's what it's about, is like, okay, cool. Yeah, we've had plenty of Dominican stuff. Hell, I've had lots of Dominican stuff from Hochi's factory, and it's all really good. So why the fuck should I, show up and think that my stuff is going to make a difference? Well, because with that retail experience and with me as a cigar smoker and my palate and Kendrick's palate and Hochi's palate, you get a good mix of like, there's always going to be a gap in the market somehow. Right? Everybody hasn't blended every possible scenario for what a cigar could be. So our theme and kind of our guiding light is we're not blending cigars for strength. If you think about, if I tell you, tell me a cigar brand that's known for being strong, you're going to say what?
Sorry. There was an emergency at the
He just ran.
LFD.
Well,
LFD. Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Romacraft. Right? Black label trading. There's somebody who's known for strength, and all of those brands are known for flavor too. But when we're blending cigars, I like to smoke a cigar just like back to back to back. I don't like to take breaks, right? If I'm blending a super strong cigar, I'm going to have to tap out, and then I don't get to do what I enjoy doing anymore. So we're blending for flavor, and I want you to be excited by the different flavors in each blend. Yes, there's going to be a common theme. We use San Andres in pretty much all of our blends at this point. That's like the one thread of tobacco that's consistent through all of our blends. It's either filler, binder, or wrapper.
But that's a great thread, though.
It's a great thread.
Right? That's a great thing to have that commonality amongst all the blends, right?
And so, but in keeping that theme, we feel like that's our baseline, right? And everything else can be built off of it and built around it, and we can bring you something that tastes like Apostate every time you smoke it. If I take the band off, and I cut it and light it for you and hand it to you and you don't know what it is, you're going to be like, you know what, this kind of reminds me of an Apostate I had, right? We want you to be able to understand our blending style, our flavor profile tendencies, even though each blend is very unique. So, Kevin, you okay?
Yeah, the DHL guy just walking back and forth in front of them. I'm like, who is out there? It's 9 o'clock at night.
9 o'clock. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm like, who's walking back and forth in front of our door?
The alert went off, I swear, like 10 times, and I was like,
Yeah,
Kevin,
it kept going off on my phone. There's motion. And you're like, what is going on out front?
Off on your Alexa inside.
You know, yeah. So I mean, because we're building the new lounge, and then I know I forgot to lock the door. Now I'm like, oh God, who's messing around inside the
Nice.
Kevin, I was actually just getting ready to ask Brandon with all he mentioned all of the plethora of names, with the Mormon Church. Have you received any backlash from anybody in the Mormon Church or any of the members with using the name in their cigars?
No, not really. When the Half Wheel article dropped announcing the debut of Apostate Cigars on the Half Wheel website, I went and I read the article, and then I was like, oh, cool, there's some comments here. And the only negative feedback or pushback was from this guy who apparently is a Mormon, but smokes cigars. So that's weird, first off. But he was like, oh, what are you guys, the Trey Parker and Matt Stone of cigars now? Like, like immediately assumed that
apparently he watches South Park too.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and so I guess he immediately assumed the worst and assumed that our intentions were, to negatively highlight Mormons, and that has nothing to do with it. So no, really, I guess kind of the benefit for us is that Mormons are content to ignore the fact that we're here. You know what I mean? Yeah. So not getting a lot of pushback. I'm sure it'll happen. I drive around in a nice black 4Runner with a big Apostate sticker across my back window. It's our logo. And so when I'm in traffic, I get some looks for sure. But I've never had anybody, confront me or indicate that they were angry about it. And if they had a 5-minute conversation down on a bicycle. Nah, man.
No, but at the end of the day, it's your right, it's your experience, and you can express it however you want.
Well, that it's probably probably other parents use that to their kids. Like, see, if you leave the church, they make you. It's like the big A on your.
Look what's going to happen to you.
Yeah,
I just.
Yeah, you have.
I imagine
you have to put that. Yeah.
I imagine just that judgmental voice from so many people that I was raised with coming through and saying, oh, look at that. That's so disrespectful. And it's like, have a 5-minute conversation with me. We can clear it up. It's not disrespectful at all. I'm embracing where I came from. I'm no longer a part of that. I get to tell my story. You don't get to choose what my story looks like. I get to choose what that looks like.
Yeah,
so
the one time they won't have a 5-minute conversation with you. The one time.
They had that annulment, remember?
Yeah.
I'm not part of the club anymore, so you can't hurt my feelings with stuff from the club,
That's it. Now, like your parents, you have siblings? So is it like better now? It's like, I don't want to say, hey, look, my son, I'm proud of him. I'm sure they're proud of what you do.
Oh, totally. No, it's I'm lucky, man. Not everybody who leaves the church has a wholesome experience. You can imagine making a decision to leave your faith is huge, right? That's a big decision. And so it's compounded when you don't have a support system, or when the people you love who are closest to you maybe don't accept you anymore. I didn't experience that at all. My family has always been super supportive. I lost the support and respect of friends and neighbors and colleagues and things like that, but I don't give a fuck about those people. You know what I mean? Like, I do and I don't, they're not paying my bills, so I don't care. Right. But it's, my family's always been super supportive. My mom, actually, when we told her, that we were launching this brand, I'm going to call it Apostate, she's seen the happiness and the success and the contentment of my family that's brought about by being in this industry. right? She's seen firsthand how good and positive and uplifting this community and this industry is. So when I told her we were launching a brand and what we were going to call it and telling her the names of some of the cigars, she cracked up. She thought it was hilarious. She started shooting me names of cigars, right? She's like, you should call one this and that, and like then told me why. Like, she's all about it, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, not everybody's lucky enough to have that kind of support when they walk away from a faith. So I feel pretty lucky.
So talking about family and support, what did your wife say? You know, is Kendrick married as well?
He is, yeah. Kendrick's married.
So what do you guys come to your wives? You know, like, hey, we'd like to start this endeavor, and you know, because that's all three of them, we're all in the industry. We know what it costs. You know, it's not it's not cheap at all. What
right.
you know, obviously she bought you your first cigars, so she's
well, it's not even
supportive.
just from a financial perspective. It's also just from a relationship perspective of time.
Yeah,
spending time together.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. No, Jesse, great call. It's one of those things where like you have a conversation and it starts as like a what if, right? Yeah. And then our wives both got to see the what if progress into actually we should stop talking about this and do it. So at no point was there really any pushback, at least on my end. Knowing Kendrick and knowing his wife, I can't imagine that there was pushback on that end either. First of all, they're the first ones who will tell you that if we have an idea and there's something we want to do, it's probably just best to let us get it out of our system. You know what I mean? Like just let him go, let him have fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of that involved, but there's also, like you said, maybe there is a financial side to it that's a little scary, or a time away from family side that's a little scary, and how it weighs on relationships. I am on the road a lot, man. Like, that's the job right now. Is sure, I can sit in this comfy office and make phone calls to retailers, but that doesn't put me in front of them. That doesn't let me smoke my product with them. That doesn't let me answer their questions in a real world, one-on-one friendly kind of way. So being on the phone just ain't it, man. You got to be on the road. And I just got back from San Diego on Saturday. I'm going to be leaving again on Monday, and then I'm going to be leaving again the week after that. My wife kicks ass, dude. That woman is so cool. At no point was she like, this sucks. She's like, yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard. We miss you when you're gone. But seeing me happy and fulfilled and doing something that brings me passion, and knowing that I love it, and knowing that this is my forever, like this is what I want to do. How could she as a spouse possibly turn around and say, hey, sorry, this has got to stop? I couldn't do that to her. There's no way. You find a way to make it work, man. And I know for Kendrick, that story is probably very similar.
Yeah, a couple questions here. Strat 2LE stumbled upon the channel midstream, enjoying the CAO Columbia. Thank you for sticking around.
Yeah,
and we go live every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then Sean, another great podcast. Thanks for always tuning in, Sean. He's loving the episode. He never knew Candela was a fermentation process. So if that's something that we can get out, we always love preaching the good. I mean, no pun intended. You're right, preaching the good, preaching the good word of Candela. That's what we do.
Candela.
Yeah, that's it.
You just need a bicycle, dude.
That's it. This is our pulpit. That's it. I do not need a bicycle.
No one needs to see that.
So talking about you're traveling a lot. Is that your role? Because is Kendrick more running the lounge there? Like the back end, and your role is getting out there.
Yeah, when we formed the company, it was very early on that we kind of divvied out roles, right? Who's in charge of what? Who's going to be responsible for what? What's going to make this the most successful? Kendrick is a business owner and has been for a long time, and is extremely good at it. So as far as operations go, why would I try to be the guy doing operations when someone as good as Kendrick is right here, right? So he's the ops guy. He came up with the logo band design concept. He came up with the bulk of like the vibe as far as branding goes, and this is how we're going to tie it into our history. And he's the idea man. He's got everything sorted out as far as next steps. Me, I'm the cigar nerd, and every time I'm talking to, a manufacturer or a retailer or a rep, they're like, yeah, you look like a cigar guy. So we decided I should probably be the guy, getting FaceTime, right? Because I look like a cigar guy. But I spent all that time as a GM at a retail shop, and I know how to talk to retailers because I've done it. So that just makes sense for me to be the guy on the road, shaking hands, introducing product. Kendrick goes with me quite a bit. It's a duo a lot of times, but there is a lot that keeps him in Utah. You've got Beehive, you got his family. That guy's got a lot on his plate. So yeah, for me to be the one on the road just makes the most sense.
All right, we're gonna go back up here, and Gordon, and get to Gordon's question here.
All
That
right,
kind of what's that?
Well, let's just ask Manny's question.
All right, okay. Throw Manny's question up
Back
there.
to-
All right.
Every do you watch Oak Island or Skinwalker Ranch?
Okay.
So Skinwalker Ranch I've caught. Oak Island I'm not familiar with. But in the vein of Skinwalker Ranch, that is very near to a couple of camping spots that I frequent all the time.
No way.
And
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just had a conversation with somebody in a cigar lounge when we were in San Diego last week. We started talking about Skinwalker Ranch, and there's a definite vibe in that area, man. I don't know what you guys are into,
we
but
believe that.
I don't. I've been camping my whole life. I grew up in Utah. I was a Boy Scout. You know what I mean? It's Utah. It's the outdoor capital of the country, right? So yeah, I don't get scared in the woods unless I'm camping anywhere near Skinwalker Ranch. There's a vibe out there, dude. You feel like you got something over your shoulder all the time.
Would that convince you to go camping, Kevin?
Oh, I'd go camping.
Would you?
Yeah.
Would
Oh,
you?
no.
Oh,
that
yeah.
one.
Let's go.
That's
No,
it.
no.
Because my two bucket list items, to be abducted by an alien and get struck by lightning. I feel like
Okay.
I feel like both of the one or either of those or both would be like life changing. I mean, obviously, there's getting struck.
I promise they would be life changing.
Yeah, because we talked. We were just watching a show the other night with like a woman that got struck by lightning twice, and I'm like, I feel like I'm the guy that gets like a superpower, like something telekinesis. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, that's funny. I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but if you get struck by lightning once, your odds of getting struck again are way higher.
Yes.
I heard that somewhere. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Something we just watched an episode.
Yeah, it was
where
something
this
that it
woman-
changes with your body, and you're more likely to get struck again
That's
in your
wild.
life.
Well, in
Yeah,
Oak
no
Island,
thanks.
they found something new that
Oh, did
actually, it actually connects the treasure they're looking for back to Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah, they found a cigar prop. This
Yeah.
metal
Okay.
cigar
Yeah.
prop.
Oak
There it is.
Island, the Oak Island treasure hunting thing. They don't ever
This was
find
fun.
anything.
Nice.
So
The
Oh,
guy
yeah.
was in a wetsuit for the longest
Yeah.
time. He came up with this
that-
and a button.
and a button. So all right, so now back to Gordon's question, because that goes in with my question that I had as well. My question is, what are some of the things you guys realize would be as hard as they turned out to be? And then he asked kind of similar, with the handful of things that worked out smoothly, what was the biggest hurdles, for the launch?
Oof. Man, it's all kind of hard. You know what I mean? Like as much as we were lucky to like build a relationship with the guy who would end up making our cigars for us and having that go very smooth, and then having a smooth transition into someone willing to distribute for us, and then having relationships with a lot of other lounge owners when we launched who were immediately willing to carry our product. Like those are the things that went well, right? The rest of it is hard. All of it. It's all hard, man. Making cold calls to a shop to tell them I'm going to be in their town, and they're like, okay. And it's like, sure, come see me, bring me tobacco. That's great. Making sure that if you've opened an account with somebody and you've built that relationship and now they have your product on the shelf, what keeps it selling for them? How do you help them keep that product in people's hands? How do you help them reaffirm for their customers that there's still value there 6 months later, right? So getting your foot in the door is one thing, but keeping that relationship going and keeping your product going, that's hard. being away from my family is tough, man. Like I love it. I love being on the road, and I love seeing places and experiencing things. But by like day 3 out of a 10-day trip, I'm like, fuck, man, I just want to like hug my wife, you know? So there's really not any of it that I would say is easy. Some things are easier than others. But yeah, it's all hard, dude. It's all hard. Don't start a cigar business. Don't do it.
Yeah. So we I think all 3 of us tell everybody that, like, oh, it's great, you know, start a cigar business, and it's just like,
get rich.
Yeah, you're
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're gonna be loaded, right? No, it's one of those things where like anyone who starts a business, you know, you're not going to be making money for a while, right? You've got to spend, and then you've got to slowly earn that back. So by the time you earn it back, I mean, you're a couple of years into it. So, you know, right now for us, it's about how you spend. It's about how that money is spent, how that time is spent, building the right relationships, being deliberate about every move you make. That way, when the money comes back, you're not just trying to fill this hole that you dug for no reason. It was a hole you dug on purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that comes back to you guys being I don't want to use the word lucky in a derogatory term, but you guys were lucky enough to where you're retailers. You know, when you go visit another retailer, you cold call them. I mean, you know what to expect because you got that. You got those calls. You had. Those
I was the guy on the other end of the phone. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like whatever. I don't care. You're gonna be in town. Just bring me tobacco. You know.
Yeah, so. Man. And it's some of those, like, sometimes I would know who was calling and sometimes I wouldn't. Either way, I would try to be polite. You know, I'd be, my house is your house. Please, if you're going to be in town and you think I'm worth your time, I'm going to try and make it worth your time, right? Maybe I'm not going to carry your product. It has to line up with a lot of decisions I've got to make. But if you're calling me and you're saying I'm in town, I would like to get FaceTime with you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be as accommodating as possible. And for the most part, that's what I encounter when I'm traveling, and there are very few exceptions to that. And that's kind of the thing that I love about this industry, man. I love this community. Everyone understands what goes into it, you know? So
yeah. So how often are you, like, when you're on a road trip and you're visiting these lounges, how often, I mean, I'm sure you talk shop, you know, do you give out good ideas? You know, like, hey, you know, I noticed, you know, shop, you know, if I could make a suggestion, you know, maybe do this, or you see something, you come back, go, Kendrick, we got to do, I mean, this lounge. I mean, so does that happen at least once a trip, visiting lounges?
Yeah, I would say it does happen at least once a trip, man. You know, it's one of those things where I try not to overstep when I'm in a lounge, when I'm in someone else's house, right? So I'm not going to sit down and be like, oh, you know, if you put that over there, I try not to do that unless they ask, right? They're like, oh, you ran a shop, you ran Beehive. I've heard of Beehive. What did you guys do about XYZ? I'll happily share my experience, right? But the last thing I want to do is walk into a space and tell them what they're doing wrong, right? So if people ask, let's have a conversation about it. It's more about what we learn while we're on the road, right? So for example, you know, a few months ago, we were in Vegas, before TPE, I visited a lounge out there called Tap and Ash, right? Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I just got an email. I just got an email from them tonight. They're having an event for Arez Cigars. It's weird you bring that up.
So dude, super cool lounge, like awesome lounge, great space. They now carry our product, but when we visited them, we noticed their filtration system in the ceiling. They have a combination of some rabbit airs and then these fans. Like, it looks like a ceiling fan, but it has a charcoal filter in it. Really quiet, low energy, and really not noticeable. Like, it doesn't stick out. It's not an eyesore. And we were like, can you tell us more about those? So
can you tell me more? Because I was looking for those fans, and I for our new lounge, you know, because we'll have a combination of rabbit airs, and we got Fantech inline duck fans to exhaust the smoke outside. But I found like an old article that was like 8 years old on those fans that had the charcoal filters. And I spent weeks. I could not find a current manufacturer of those fans.
Yeah, we'll send you the info. Absolutely. Okay. They're awesome. They're so cool. Yeah. And I think the smaller your space, the better, probably. If you're talking about a space with like super high ceilings, it may not be as effective as what we saw at Tap and Ash. But for Tap and Ash with, you know, a 10-foot ceiling and like 6 of those things in there, awesome. and we took that information home with us right away. So I feel like we learn more from other people when we're on the road than they do from us.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll definitely reach out. I was really interested to see if
I'll email you the info, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. That was great. And Stogie Meditation. He's in Utah. You know, he wants to move to Florida. Literally the day I got back in the cigar, Salt Lake City shut down the lounge at Beehive. LOL.
Yep.
So
he remembers. Yeah. It was a dark day. That was January 2019. Yeah.
Somebody's uncle got struck by lightning, Kevin.
Yeah, my uncle's putting an awning down and he got struck by lightning. Likely he was fine. Not sure if he ever got struck again. Yeah. See.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my! I mean, I've been golfing and have lightning strike, pretty close near me, but never.
Yeah. I've been very close. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's terrifying. Did you guys ever see the movie The Great Outdoors with John Candy?
Yes. Yeah.
You remember the guy at the bar?
Yes, seven times. Yeah. Whatever.
66 times in the head.
Yeah. In the head. That's what was the. Oh my God. So we're gonna wrap up a couple of questions about you and your partner Kendrick.
Sweet.
How do you guys handle disagreements?
Very well, actually. So I mean, it doesn't get heated very often. Kendrick and I are not only partners, but we became fast friends pretty early on. After he hired me and I started running the show at Beehive, we work very well together. Just our personality types are very well enmeshed, if that makes sense. We're not the same person, but we're very compatible. So when it comes to like disagreements, it's usually just a matter of conversation. Even if it gets heated, neither one of us let the other one check out. You know what I mean? We're not like, we're not going to go to bed mad at each other. You know what I mean? It's going to be, we're going to figure this out. And it's usually just a miscommunication or misunderstanding or, good intentions gone wrong. So we're very good at hashing that shit out. You have to be with just two of us running a company and him running another company and, life. We're pretty good at communicating.
So has your friendship been strengthened or hindered by being business partners? Do you work on, so do you work on being friends just as much as, making sure that, hey, we get some downtime together just to hang out?
Yeah, absolutely. And Kendrick, God bless him, he understands my tunnel vision. When I'm on the road or when I'm in work mode, which is most of the time, I get tunnel vision and I don't take a time out. I don't relax, or I don't, take in a sight or go see something cool in the city I'm in. It's I got to go to another lounge. I got to go to another lounge. I got to get to the hotel. I got to get food. I'm very, bop. So he went with me on this trip to San Diego last week. That was the first time we traveled together since February. And he was like, bro, before we hit any lounges today, we're going to the beach. And I was like, I didn't pack shorts. I didn't pack flip-flops. Yeah. Like I'm at the beach in San Diego in jeans, cowboy boots, and a black button-up. You know what I mean? But we were at the beach, and he made sure that we took the time out. We got some coffee. We stood by the ocean. We talked about life. We didn't talk about work. We got that friend check-in. He specifically said to me, hey, I want to have a moment with you. I want to check in, see how you're doing, as friends, as humans. I don't want to talk about Apostate. Let's talk about you. He's very good at that. So, we maintain the friendship very well. People say don't start a business with your friends. I say start a business with the right friends.
Yes, no. I agree 100% on that. We're gonna there was a question here, and this goes with as you're talking about working with Hochi. I thought about this earlier. Is there a blender or cigar maker Brandon hopes to work with one day? And that goes back to like my question was, would have been like, are you do you guys plan on branching out? Because that's a big thing people, everybody's doing nowadays. Seems like, they're starting a company with 2 or 3, blenders. Or
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't sit here and give you a short list of people I want to work with. That's a super fucking long list, bro.
Yeah.
Everyone in this industry brings something worth bringing, and I would be lucky to work with any of them. So for me, it's more of a, I'm in a position where I hope that someday I'm lucky enough for them to know who I am, know what we're doing, and want to work with us. You know what I mean? So yeah, there are definitely blenders I would love to work with. Some people I look up to for sure. We talked about Nick Malillo, you talk about Pete Johnson, you talk about James at Sinistro. That guy's a blending savant, dude. Like, that guy blends like it's nobody's business. So, plenty of people out there that I would love to get FaceTime with and sit across the blending table from.
Oh yeah, and I'll trade you some cigars. You send me some of your Candelas, I'll send you some of my cigar, the real good trash, what he blended. That launched this week, so we'll send you.
Weren't you involved with the? You were involved with the vice versa too, weren't you?
Yep, involved in the vice versa. So thank you very much. It was super cool. So just talking with Omar tonight about possibly doing a second one. A different cigar, another launch with him. So hopefully.
That's another, we talk about being lucky. I feel like the relationships I have with other manufacturers from the retail side adds to a little bit of that luck. Back in September, I was in California and I reached out to James. He was part of my trip to Pro Cigar in the Dominican Republic in like 2018. I was like, dude, who should I talk to in California? He's like, well, when are you going to be here? And I told him, and he's like, cool, I'll go with you. You know what I mean? So we road tripped up the coast of California together. He took me to all the shops he thought that I would do well with, and most of those shops carry my stuff now. So it's like,
that's awesome.
I didn't ask him for that. He was just like, yeah, bro, let's go. So pretty lucky, dude. Yeah. Absolutely.
Did you ever get out to El Artista to see Ram?
We did, yeah. We hung out with Ram. Absolutely. I think it would be cool to do like some limited edition stuff with Ram. That guy's got more tobacco than God. Have you seen Ram's warehouses?
I have not. I've only heard the stories. I've only heard the stories.
It's insane. He's got everything. Yeah. And James works with him. You've seen some great stuff coming out of El Artista for sure. Yeah, dude. Mm-hmm. And Ram's just fucking cool. Ram's salty earth.
Super great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe it's been 2 hours already.
Oh. That didn't feel like 2 hours.
It didn't. It just it felt like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, Kerr, any final questions for Brandon before we let him go?
No, appreciate your time. I mean, this was fantastic, and it's pretty cool that you're able to make this transition. And from the shop, like I said, I visited the shop. I had a great time, great shop, and hopefully I'll get a chance to get out there again.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Come see us. We'd love to have you.
And then one final question here. Can I find Apostate Cigars in Maine?
Let's see. Closest to Maine right now, honestly, is probably going to be PA. Tinderbox in PA carries us. So tinderbox.com. Yep.
All right. So now, are you guys a Beehive? Are you guys allowed to sell online, being in Utah and ship out of state?
No, we are not. That's part of the state law. Does not allow us to sell online. So you can always call Beehive though. Give Beehive a call. They're happy to ship to you. Absolutely.
All right. Or like you said, Tinderbox. Look up Tinderbox.
Tinderbox.com. A few of our retailer partners have online portals now. So once the website launches, give me a week or two. We'll have an updated retailer list. There's a lot more retailers on the list than what you guys saw. We're I think plus 40 now. So.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I'll keep an eye out or send me an email and I'll definitely push that out. I'll come back. I'll edit this video, on the description. And that way people watching in the future, a week or two from now,
still going to be the same.
But the website's still going to be the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So I'll update the description so people, watching, a week or two from
fantastic.
Now will be able to find that. So Brandon, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys. Absolutely. And if I can do a shameless plug, I'm going to be in the Seattle area next week. So if you're near Brown & Sons or FK Kirsten or Smokey Joe's, we are going to be doing a Cinco de Mayo event at Smokey Joe's in Washington next Friday.
Oh, nice. Oh, safe travels.
Right on. Perfect, man. All right. You have a great night.
You too, guys. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. So, all right. So everybody start typing in the word cigar, and then we'll hear a little, hear something from our sponsor, Corona Cigar. I got that all backwards. All right, it's time for the Tapping Ash and Taking Names giveaway presented by Amendola Family Cigars. All right, tonight we're giving away a 3-pack of cigars from Amendola Family Cigars. The Canolia, the Special, and the Padrino. We got a lighter from our partner Illusione Cigars, and I found the Picadillos. Robert Holt from Southern Draw sent us some to give away, and I lost them in my mini humidors. And I was putting an order together for Trash Panda tonight, and I saw the Picadillos. So you're also going to get the
He really
5.
means he hid them.
I hid them.
I was going to say.
So yes, the winner is getting a fantastic prize pack out tonight.
Yeah, that's a good prize pack.
So that is
really
a good one. So let me share this screen here.
Anybody who can't win?
Yes, I'll name those people if they happen to win. I don't have that right. I don't have that directly in front of me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Kev.
That is on the next. How is that 0? Hold on a second. Let me come back here and. Oh, okay, I put the word hashtag, so I typed that in. So let me share this again. So now it's just cigar. All right.
Okay.
23 entries.
Much better.
Much better than the 0.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, just that winner up on the screen.
Thank you, 1944.
That's it. Send me an email, kevin@cigarprop.com, and I will get you your prize pack out to you. Next week, we welcome back to the show Laurel Tilley. Now she will be talking about her new role at AJ Fernandez Cigars. I think she moved to Nashville from like Minnesota. So we got so much to talk about from weather to the change in cigars. So it'll be an exciting show. Make sure you're following Apostate Cigars, Cigar Prop, producer Jessica, Kerr Viajante of Stogie Road Cigars. All the social media links are in the show notes down below in the podcast description if you're listening to this. Also in the show notes are all the social media links for our partners. Once again, we can't make this show happen each and every week without them. So thank you to JC Newman Cigars, CigarMedics, Amendola Cigars. We are the muscle. Jake Wyatt Cigars, Illusione Cigars, deep in flavor, deep in your mind. K by Karen Berger Cigars, Corona Cigar, and of course, Drew Estate and Experience Acid. Brandon, we're going to bring you back up here in a second. Kerr, leave everybody with a final thought for the night.
For the night, a final thought. Like I said, life is short. Grab a buddy and enjoy a cigar.
All right, we'll see everybody next week.